Good morning and happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. At least in the United States, we celebrate the July 4th, 1776 as the date of our independence from Great Britain. And it's sort of a wonderful time to take a day off, have summertime picnics and fireworks and celebrations of patriotic things like that. And but it's officially called Independence Day. And so instead of continuing my little talk that I started yesterday on the golden ass, I'm just going to say, if you're truly interested in the references to the Eleusinian mysteries and such, that that you get yourself a golden ass. You can just find it on the internet. Just print it out. You don't have to download anything, and go to chapter 47. And you can see what might be the highlights of the pageantry and the thinly veiled details of what the Eleusinian initiation rituals may have been like. But today, because it's the 4th of July, I am self-obliged to share with you my comments on the rights of, well, Crowley called it the rights of man, with the capital M. And in his day, there was that meant everybody, and certainly to Crowley, it meant everybody. Wasn't for men only. But that has turned into sort of an awkward phrase. Man has the right to, vote. So Crowley wrote a wonderful, wonderful thing called Liber Oz, which is the declaration of the rights of, he called it rights of man. But as we'll find out here in my comments, Liber Oz was written and signed by Aleister Crowley, not any of his magical names, not any of his other personas. And so I've tweaked Crowley's Liber Oz just for clarity's sake, and here's what it is. There is no God but me. I have the right to live by my own law, to live in the way that I will to do, to work as I will, to play as I will, to rest as I will, to die when and how I will. I have the right to eat what I will, to drink what I will, to dwell as I will on the face of the earth. I have the right to think what I will, to speak what I will, to write what I will, to draw, paint, carve, etch, mold, build as I will, to dress as I will. I have the right to love as I will. I have the right to kill those who would thwart these rights. I think we can all agree that Liber Oz isn't a license to be blind or stupid or deluded. Neither does it protect, exonerate, or absolve us from the consequences of exercising these rights. You might be surprised to learn that Liber Oz, here's what I was talking about, is not a Class A document or a Class B or Class C, or it's even listed, not even listed among the Class E documents, which supposedly are consist of public announcements and broadsheets. Liber Oz is simply signed Aleister Crowley. Not Perdurabo, not Onkoff Nakansu, not OM, or not 666, or OSV, or VVVVV, or Tomegatherion. Liber Oz was written and signed by the man, Aleister Crowley, a man declaring the rights of man. Crowley labels Liber Oz, quote, an historic document, and tells us it was meant to, quote, convey the OTO plan in words of one syllable. And so what is the OTO plan? For a concise and authoritative statement, we might turn to Section 2 of the revised 1917 Constitution, which tells the world, quote, the principal purpose of the OTO is to teach the true brotherhood. The principal purpose of the OTO is to teach true brotherhood and make it a living power in the life of humanity. Principal purpose of the OTO is to teach true brotherhood and to make it a living power in the life of humanity. As such, Liber Oz appears to be intended for every man, woman, and child upon the earth. The rights that Liber Oz declares are not just for OTO members, not just for the brothers of or the aspirants to the AA. Liber Oz is not a message reserved for self-proclaiming Thelemites, not just for magicians. Liber Oz is the declaration of the rights of each and every human being whose evolving consciousness has developed a sense of self, and whose self-identity has formulated a will. Liber Oz in its present form was written in 1941, just 6 years before Crowley died, and just 7 years later, on December 10th, 1948, as the nations of the earth were still convulsing from the catastrophe of World War II, United Nations representatives from around the world formally adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's a document I believe everyone, especially all of you, should own and study. If you don't have one, it's really short. You can download it anywhere, okay? And when I speak, I usually bring copies for everybody because you can just get bundles of them for free. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. It's being trampled on all over the place, but it still exists. It's an inspiring little document worthy, in my opinion, of universal acceptance. It's remarkably thorough, declaring in 30 brief articles a broad spectrum of economic, social, cultural, political, and civil rights of all people on the planet. But it's important for those of us who claim to be Thelemites to remember that ultimately it is impossible for the United Nations or any community or state or national government or church or order to grant anyone these rights. No charter, no constitution, no warrant, No document or scripture of any kind has the power or authority to award or grant anyone these rights. No, we are all, the enlightened and the unenlightened, the innocent and the guilty. We already possess them. But they remain unactualized until the liberating instant we recognize and accept the fact that they are ours by virtue of being born, by the virtue of being alive, by virtue of existing in this dimension as human beings. These rights cannot be purchased or won or rationed or doled out or allocated or allotted to us by any tribe or cult's imaginary god or world teacher, or by any mythical special privileges we've inherited because of the circumstances of our birth or our wealth or our race or our genes or our family or our tribe or our nation. These rights are not privileges extended to us by some national or international or interplanetary government or club or order. I'll be perfectly frank. If you still believe, even in the back of your mind, that any organization or entity outside yourself has the power to grant or deny you any of these rights, then perhaps you're not yet prepared to claim and exercise them. I'll go even further. If you believe there is any entity outside yourself capable of granting or withholding any of these rights from you, then perhaps you're not yet prepared to claim and exercise them. Until you've awakened to your birthright, your sleeping consciousness will continue to divide dream self against dream self. You will remain self-hoodwinked, self-bound, self-medicated. You'll continue to bamboozle yourself and only fantasize that you've transcended the flat earth, dying sun, divine right of king's slave consciousness of the Osirian aeon. The universal Declaration of Human Rights is a noble and idealistic attempt at enshrining what universal rights might look like if ever they were to be put in practice by motivated people and institutions guided by a modicum of human decency and by a desire to expedite the evolutionary unfoldment of the human potential. But thou hast no right but to do thy will. And Liber Oz is a far more visceral declaration. It declares why we have these fundamental rights. I personally believe that as far as Liber Oz is concerned, we are all free to identify ourselves as anything we sincerely believe we are, any philosophy, any political persuasion, any gender, and yes, any religion. We're free to believe that something is our will, even if it violates civil or criminal laws. Even if to the rest of the world it appears embarrassingly stupid, misguided, or dangerous. It's impossible for me or anyone else to ultimately judge on a karmic level what is or is not one's personal will. You're free to believe that something is truly your will, even if all your friends and loved ones think you're out of your fucking mind and you're making the biggest mistake of your life. Who are we to judge on a huge cosmic level Who knows? Perhaps your stupid self-destructive behavior might be part of your will to die when and how you will. I can only speak for myself. And I might be a completely naive and deluded old man, but it's clear to me that I have a number of unique and particularly important things I must do with my life in the short time I am present in this dimension. Things I must do for the benefit of my own awakening. Things I must do for the benefit of the consciousness of those around me. Other consciousness units. It's my job. And it's the price I pay for admission to my existence. Call it destiny, call it my great work, call it madness. I don't give a damn what you call it. There is no God but me. And it's my private, personal, selfish, self-centered, narcissistic best interest to live and pursue this great work in a relatively safe, stable environment, undisturbed as much as possible by the distraction of violent social unrest and climatic devastation. And a big part of my pursuit of happiness includes not being tormented by preventable pain and unhappiness of other consciousness units around me. Maybe it's a character flaw, but I can no longer segregate their consciousness from my own. It unsettles me. It irritates me. Makes me unhappy, especially when I know there are things I can do that might address and correct the situation. It's the least I can do. Indeed, I'm counseled by my holy guardian angel that it is one of the unique and particularly important things I must do at the time I have in this incarnation. But that's just me, okay? It's my great work, my will, at least as I'm perceiving it. You are your own consciousness unit. In the OTO and ultimately in Thelema, one's social sensitivities and politics are entirely a personal matter. They have to be. For Constance and me, it feels perfectly natural to support laws and measures and candidates and parties that promote policies and support equality and strong civil liberties and such. Our progressive attitudes aren't dictated by Liber Oz, or the Book of the Law, or our interpretation of the tenets of Thelema. Our personal attitudes, unique to us. They spring in part from our youthful idealism and the romantic vision formed at the beginning of our long and adventurous life together. Attitudes formed naturally by our observations and interpretations of what appears to be an objective reality, and values that continue to be nourished by maturing wisdom and our evolving sense of human decency. We neither know nor care if you find our attitudes admirable or childishly naive. But please, no matter how much you may agree or disagree with our positions on social or political issues, don't be quick to credit or blame either our wisdom or folly on our acceptance or our current understanding of Thelema. And for heaven's sakes, don't blame the OTO on our attitudes. The same should be remembered of all of our siblings, with whom we share in common so many wonderful things concerning the art of magic and the love of the great work, but whose present moral or political views we may find abhorrent. Always be mindful that each of us have fears and attitudes and prejudices and pathologies that have been molded by factors infinite and unknown. Things that one person can never truly understand in another. Traumas stemming from parental mistreatment or abandonment or violence or past struggles with drugs or alcohol. We each try to deal with our own demons any way we can, and sadly there are those of us that seek to exorcise them by clothing themselves in the armor of elitism and escaping into a fantasy brotherhood of intolerance, championing the mythical causes of some romanticized warrior cult of the past. All of us are batshit crazy in our own ways. Don't be afraid to disagree with your siblings as vehemently as you will. Call them out, bust them on Facebook if you feel you must, but never be tricked into believing or blaming the transcendent truth of Thelema for something as stupid and temporary as conflicting attitudes on politics. If someone else tries to, don't be trolled into the conversation at that level. I admire Crowley, he's my holy prophet, but I'm not obliged to comb my hair or select my wardrobe or my diet or my lovers or vote the way he did. Thelema is bigger than Aleister Crowley. And nobody can tell anybody how to interpret the book of the law. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. Happy Independence Day, 2024. Let's hope it's not our last one.